So, my name is Alsaba Qureshi. I am from Tulsiramji Gaikwad Patil College of Engineering and Technology from the CSE department. Now, we here are discuss about GSM, the subject of mobile computing. So, the topic is GSM. What is the full form of GSM? GSM, the full form of GSM is Global System Mobile Phone Telephone System that is invented in 1980s. So here is some background of the GSM. At the beginning of 1980s, it was realized that the European countries were using many different incompatible mobile phone system. What this means that in the European countries they are using mobile phone system. First of all, they invent the mobile phone system, and which time 1980s they realized that if the mobile phone system is mostly needed, so that's why they invent the GSM mobile phone system. At the same time, the need for telephone communication service were remarkable increase. So what are you meaning about it? So the telephonic communication service, that is communication between two users or a sender or a receiver, the communication is most increased or most needed. So that's why they invented telephonic communication services that is increasingly different day by day. So due to this CPT, that is a full form of CPT, the full form is Conference European Does Post at Telecom Communication, founded a group to specify a common mobile phone system for European Western Europe. Why? Because the day by day the telephonic communication services are increasingly day by day. So the need is most important. So that's why they found a group that is a conference European post telecommunication. Why they founded a group? So that's why specify a common for mobile system for Western Europe. So Western Europe is specify they invent a common mobile system. See, this group was named as Group Special Mobile and the system name was GSM Arrows. They named that common mobile phone telephone system that as Group Special Mobile, and the system name was they invents as GSM Arrows. The abbreviation has since been interrupted in other ways, but the most common expression nowadays is the Global System for Mobile Communication. As you know, we are using GSM SIM or GSM mobile phone system because we are in the new generation. In previous generation, they are using mobile phone system. It's a simple mobile phone system. Now they are using GSM mobile phone system. Why they are using? Because GSM provides us many features, many services. So that's why day by day the communication services are needed increases. So that's why they invent GSM. So the most common expression nowadays is a global system for mobile communication. Why are we using GSM? We are using GSM mobile phones. Why? Because you want to communicate with each other. So here we are you are seeing that a diagram that is here it shows a world and it's a mobile phone system. So it tells that all the one or all the over the world are connected with the GSM mobile phone system. So they are connected with GSM mobile phone system, so that's why they communicate with each other. We can communicate with from other party or other user other than the from the one side to other side or in the India or outside of India. So international calling is also possible due to GSM background. So now this is the history of GSM because we are discussing about GSM background. So that's why it's the history of GSM. So mobile phones have gone through three distinct generation with different technology. So what I is saying that mobile phone is going from three generation because it using three generation with the different technologies. So we are basically means it that say that the mobile phones is going from three generation and it's using different types of technology to invent the mobile phones or to invent the some different features on it. So what are the generations here? What three generations are here? First is analog voice, second one is digital voice, and third one is digital voice and data. So first generation we are discussing about first generation, that is analog voice. Mobile telephone were used particularly for maritime and military communication during the early decades of the 20th century. So you can say that in first generation, that is analog voice. The data was transmitted in analog. So the mobile telephone, radio telephone system, firstly they invent radio telephones mobile system. So who they are using? Their military communication. Military uses that type of telephones for communications. In in 20th century, they are using radio telephone system for communication, like phone system. But now we are discussing, we are communicating, but at the same time user and the receiver same time communicate with each other, same time they are both in, they are saying, and they can listening. But in that time they can't listen, they can't interrupt their communication, because first user is saying, so second one receiver have to be wait for that communication. So then receiver have then send receivers listening the first user, then this receiver have to communicate that user. So that's why the processes go on. So the next point is that in 1946 the first system for car-based telephone was set up in St. Louis. So in 1946 the first mobile phone system was for car-based telephone system is set up in which country? In St. Louis. This system uses a single large transmitter on the top of the tall building and had a single channel. What they are doing? They set up a large channel, that is a single channel, on the single that set up a large transmitter on which where they set up the transmitter. They set up the transmitter on the top of the tall building. Why they are up here, set up the tall building at the transmitter? Because they want to give a frequency or give to communication system for the user or the receiver. Therefore though they both can communicate with that services. So they are, who are using for this uses for the both the sending and the receiving. So we using of this type of transmitter, the user, the system can be used on the single transmitter, large transmitter. They are placing on the top of the tall building, or and using a single channel for both the sending and receiving. They can communicate with each other. To talk the user, to had the push that the enable the transmitter and the disable the receiver. So when the user wants to communicate that the receiver, so he can want to push that the transmitter button. So then if you push the button, the communication start and he can talk with him. Same type, when the he wants to cut the call and he wants to disable the call, so he can what he doing, then he can do the transmitter, then disable the that push button, and then receiver push the button, then the call is disconnected, the service is disabled, so the communication will be completed. Now such system known as push to talk system, because we are using the talk button now, we are using a push button for communication. So they are using a push to talk system like a system. So that's why are we saying that that is a push to talk system. But when it is installed, was installed in several cities beginning in the late of 1950s. 1950s, in 1950s that this type of systems are invented and installed in some cities. Okay, in 1960s IMTS improved mobile telephone system. Now in 1960s we are going in day by day increasing the needs, so that's why we are going in next century or next year. So that's why IMTS, that is improve mobile telephone system, they invent improve mobile telephone system because they were some added some features on it. So was installed it uses high power, that is 200 watts transmitter. Okay, what they are using, it uses a high power, that is 200-watt transmitter on the top of the hill. Now they are placing the transmitter on the top of the hill. In previous part we discussed that they place a transmitter on the top of the building. Now they are placing on the top of the hill, but it used two different frequencies for sending and receiving. They are using two different type of frequency for sending and receiving the data. So IMTS support 23 channels spread upon from 150 megahertz to 450 megahertz. The range of the channel, it's 23 channels frequency range is 150 megahertz to 450 megahertz. Due to the small number of channels, user often have to wait a long time before getting a dial tone. In that time, they communicate with each other. They want to communicate with each other. So due to the slow number of channels, the small number of channels, so the basically user or receiver have to wait a long time for getting even a dial tone. Now this time we can communicate with each other. As I call you, as I connect with you, so at that time I exactly listen the dial tone, but that time it's not possible. So also, due to the large power of hilltop transmitter, agent system have to be several hundred kilometers apart to void interface. Due to this using of technology, the 100-meter kilos the user or a receiver, because of transmitter, they can communicate with each other, because the and other any interfaces will not affect their communication. Now in 1982, now we are going in next year. So 1982 they invent AMPS, that is advanced mobile phone system. They also invent some features on it. Now was installed by Bell Labs. Who invented is this? It's invented by Bell Labs, and and in first installing US, that is in the United States, they invent that the first system, what is advanced mobile phone system, and invented by the Bell Labs, and it is was also used in England. That is also used by the England, and where it was called, that is it's called in tax in Japan, because Japan is only one country that using the AMPS system. Okay, now where it is was called MSCLI. Now we are discussing about